2-1-1-0.
This is AENN, American Exceptionalism News Network.
I know what these people are about. I've seen what they can do. In 1992, I traveled to East Germany to find out what caused the collapse of communism. When I was there, I ran into a number of interesting people. With all the millions of people in Barcelona at the Olympic Games, I run into one guy. His name's Roger Thoreau from the Wall Street Journal. And we run into one another. We're the only two people in this big, huge square sitting at a Coke stand. And he walks up and says, "Are you an American?" And I said, "Yes." We start this conversation. Come to find out, he was the East European correspondent who'd interviewed everybody in East Europe, including Gorbachev several times, had his phone number. And he's sitting right at the table with me. Now, what causes that? Did I plan to have Roger Thoreau? I love being in a church at this moment. I didn't plan that. I had no idea who Roger Thoreau was. We were the only two sitting at the table in this huge big plaza. And he said, "You have to go to the Church of St. Nikolai in East Germany, in Leipzig, called the City of Heroes, by the way. And you have to talk to that man that's in the corner. His name is Friedrich Mercurius, and he's going to tell you about the Monday Masses." Okay, I will. So I'd already been to Leipzig and toured it, and so after the Olympics, when I was done there, I went back into East Germany, and I gave this man here, Friedrich Mercurius, the card that Roger Thoreau gave me. And Friedrich was interesting because he told me this secret behind how they caused the collapse of communism. It's not top secret, and I'll share it with you. After kind of a strange get-together and meeting with him, he pulled up a chair right in front of me and put his knees to my knees. We were touching knees, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you a Christian?" Now here I am, looking like a Southern California brat. I've got a Hawaiian shirt on, a hula shirt, shorts, tennis shoes. And I'm sitting there thinking, I've come all this way, I'm absolutely exhausted, and I have this man asking me this question, and I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Do you go to church on Sunday?" I looked at him, and that was a moment. Do I say yes? I said, "No, I don't. I don't go regularly." And he just started to laugh, and he said, "You should." And I said after this meeting, I think I'm probably going to. But what he divulged to me was how they actually brought the communists down. It was a 12-year process. It was very slow. Now, in East Germany, they had the Stasi. Ever heard of them? That's just the Gestapo heavy. That's not even Gestapo light. The Gestapo just switched teams and went to the other side, much like we've seen our president do. And they were, very heavily oppressive. They kept data banks on people, right? Heard about all that? Massive data banks on people. It's starting to really sound familiar. But this is what Friedrich told me. He said, "Paul, it started out real slow." He said, "Because if anybody," I said, "Well, what about church? I mean, you have the church, you have a minister, a priest, you have everybody you need to run a church. What was going on in the church?" He said, "Oh, it was great having church. So every Sunday we'd come up with a sermon, and we'd get up and preach, and over there'd be about 10 people, and over there'd be one person, and the rest would be blank. There'd be nobody else." I said, "Really? Well, who were those 10? The Stasi. Don't slip up in your sermon." So what he said was, so what we decided to do was start the Monday Masses. I said, "Well, how's that work?" He said, "Well, first of all, it's like I just asked you. Can I trust you as a Christian?" Because we were so heavily oppressed that if they knew that we were going to meet, if 2 people or more were going to meet as Christians, there would be executions. Sounds a little tough, doesn't it? So they decided to meet about 12 years before the wall fell. And for about 4 months, there were only 2 people meeting in Leipzig on Monday night. And then they took the big risk. And they said, let's see if we can get a third. And they got a third. Several months later, they decided, let's see if we can take another risk and get a fourth. And as several months went by, they had 5, 6, dozens, several dozens. And then they actually had breakouts in other churches in the areas on Monday nights. And the word started to spread. And they got stronger in their faith as a mass. And they knew this government could not last. They knew the government was a house of cards. And he told me that. They knew it was a matter of time before people would gain enough emotional strength to overcome them. And sure enough, on November 9th, 1989, the wall fell. And the Monday night masses played a big part in that. A huge part in that. And what they had overcome over the years were people like this: Saul Alinsky, Andrew Cloward, and Francis Scott Piven, who were also indoctrinated with the same kind of ideology that the communists had. I win, you lose. I don't like what you do, I kill you. We take you out, we destroy you. Now, I bring this up right now because this is the rule book, the playbook by which President Barack Hussein Obama plays. How many of you are familiar with this book, Rules for Radicals, or heard about it? Okay, it's about 13 different rules. It's kind of interesting. I suggest if you want to understand what's going on, get it and read it. It's online. You can go to my website. It's online free. And you just study it. And then what you realize is to say, well, you know, we can take this rule book and use it against, well, he's in the government now, right? We can just turn it on him. And that's what people are doing. I am. Right now, I've got President Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Clinton, who wrote her master's thesis on Saul Alinsky. Hello. He was not a communist, by the way, but he sure loved the Communist Party. He knew the strength and power of his writings outside the Communist Party and how he could, if he stood outside the Communist Party, he wouldn't be called all those names. He was pretty smart. But Hillary Clinton wrote her master's thesis on Saul Alinsky. So now you got 2 of the same. But we have a problem, or the president has a problem right now. And so does Hillary. And it's a wonderful thing to see. That's why I say Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi. And now we have Nancy Pelosi saying it. It's wonderful. But this is the problem that they face. In this book is rule number 7. These are the guys that are all about making crisis, right? What's the most recent one? Boko Haram, big crisis, right? That's the president's self-made crisis working in conjunction with Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. Don't be fooled. But he's doing these kind of things in desperation because he's stuck on 7. And what's stuck on 7 is this. The rule says, don't let a crisis go further. Don't let it go long. Get rid of it. Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi. See, everybody can play by this rule book. Isn't that a wonderful thing? It's not a communist book, is it? And guess what the media, Fox News, and the news stream media is doing? We're going with rule number 7. Don't you love it? And what's the president doing? He's doing some of the meanest, cruelest stuff on the planet. That's how vicious this man is. And we have to realize it. It's called gloves off, ladies and gentlemen.